Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and I'm sitting in a parking lot because I don't want to go home because I'm trapped there like everyone else. It's really, really, really boring. So I'm watching movies at home. I'm watching them when I go out to do the 1.5 things the government allows me to do right now. And so I just finished watching War Dogs like 2 minutes ago, and I finished watching The Long Goodbye yesterday. I say finished watching instead of I saw because I usually see movies over 1 to 3 days or more. But both of these I got through very quickly for me. And it was a very interesting experience to watch one right after the other and compare and contrast these two movies because they're both quite good. And I would say Long Goodbye is excellent. War Dogs has aspects of being excellent. But they both left me in kind of an opposite way, and I thought that was very interesting and telling. So, The Long Goodbye is from 1973. It came out a few months before I was born. Directed by Robert Altman, written by Leigh Brackett, and stars Elliot Gould. And it's a Philip Marlowe detective story, updated for the 1970s. And I've heard about it forever. You know, every book I've ever read on movie history has at least a couple lines about The Long Goodbye, because it was like a traditional, detective story with the fedoras in the 1930s and 40s, and then they put it in sunny California, set mostly during the day, on beaches and stuff like that. And then War Dogs is more standard. I mean, there's a lot of things that are very formulaic about it, but the performances and the writing and the direction really elevated. Here's the problem. So I had this weird feeling for the first third of watching War Dogs where I was like, have I seen this movie already? Very, very occasionally, I will start watching a movie and I will get 5 minutes in and I go, I saw this. But I mean, that doesn't happen a lot. I usually have a pretty good memory on movies I've seen and movies I haven't seen. And then I would be in a scene, I go, I remember this. And then the next scene is like, no, I don't remember this. And then like this whole section I don't remember. And then I finally figured out what it was. They showed this trailer. It was back in the day when MoviePass was a thing. And MoviePass, I was gaming the system on MoviePass. MoviePass was like, hey, see as unlimited movies. But of course there was a million ways to limit it. But all you had to do is say, I want to see this romantic comedy, and then you just go walk into Suicide Squad for the millionth time. Anyway, so I was seeing honestly, I was seeing a movie in theaters like every 2 days. They showed War Dogs. I saw that trailer probably a dozen or more times, and it's a really well-made trailer. Except for it's one of those trailers where you go, I feel like I just saw the entire movie, and pretty much you did. Whereas my experience of watching The Long Goodbye was, it pretty much had me from the beginning. But at the end, I was, when they kind of reveal who shot who and who was having an affair with who and all, I got confused. I was like, did I miss a scene? Because I don't watch it all the way through. I'll hit pause and I'll come back. And then I checked. I hadn't missed any scenes. And then I started Googling it, and they were saying, yeah, like the original story, Raymond Chandler, they're like, at one point they're like, who shot this person? He goes, I don't know. And then Leigh Brackett did the adaptation, which changed a lot from the novel. But then Robert Altman changed, at the last minute, changed the script. So me being confused was actually not my fault. There were bits that were just missing. There were bits where they wanted you to still be in mystery. And that's one thing that I really liked. So between the two of them, I absolutely loved The Long Goodbye. War Dogs was pretty darn good. So I'm trying to think. Like I said, Long Goodbye is formulaic in that, it goes back to the text of this genre. So it's kind of like every detective show you've ever seen. The funny thing is there was a couple things I missed. I went to go back to read the Roger Ebert review from, when the movie came out. And there was one character who was supposed to be a really sexy bombshell, and I just saw her as like a sad, depressed mom. But I forgot that, like, back then, like, burnt blonde hair and horrible sun damage, that was like, oh, she's a sexy California girl. It's like, oh my gosh, this woman looks like Leatherface to me. But she was supposed to be like the sex pot who betrays the hero. So Elliot Gould is, God, it's such a great performance. He's doing... The weird thing is that if you read the old interviews, they said they were doing like this, like, they called him Rip Van Marlowe. They're like, he dresses like a 1950s detective. I mean, kind of. He looks like a Reservoir Dog, essentially. But he talks like every protagonist of that type of movie from 1973. So he's kind of like this shambling, mumbling, funny detective. There's a whole scene at the beginning where he's just waking up around his, oh my gosh, his apartment. You got to see this movie. The Long Goodbye is on Amazon Prime Video. War Dogs is on HBO Prime or what? I don't know. You go to Amazon Prime Video and for a couple extra dollars, it'll like channel you. Oh, you can see all the HBOs. I got, and the CBS All Access. So I got that somehow. Because when government put me on lockdown, like freaking 350 million people on house arrest. So I was like, I'm pretty much watching everything. It's like on deployment, you know. You'd finish patrol and clean your weapons, and like, what do you do? So we were watching like Milk, the Harvey Milk story. Everyone in my platoon watched Milk with Sean Penn. You just watch everything. So The Long Goodbye is very, very 1970s. I talked about on my other channel that it reminded me. Now I don't remember 1973, obviously, if I was born in that, but I remember the actually I kind of only really remember the late 70s, but they looked pretty similar, and like everything had a smell. Every person had I'm not talking about a stench, I'm talking about a smell. Like, you got into a car, there was a smell. You went to a restaurant, there was a smell. Everyone's house smelled like a mix of all the last 50 meals they had. You'd sit on a couch, it was leather or pleather, and it had a smell. You would talk to people and you would smell their shampoo, their aftershave, their deodorant, the detergent, the leather in their jacket. And so when I was watching this, I was like, I feel like I can smell this movie. Everything's very at one point they meet this like famous writer, this troubled kind of Ernest Hemingway-esque writer. And I was like, this doesn't feel like a set. And then I read it was Robert Altman's house in Malibu back in the early 70s. So there's this really great I was getting back to Marlowe's apartment. Marlowe has one of the coolest detective pad ever. It's this weird, I don't know where it is. I'm gonna guess Hollywood Hills. I don't really know LA geography, but it's this very steep hill, and he's on the top. You have to see it. It's like this weird kind of castle thing. It's awesome. And then I was even reading that at one point there was going to be an appearance by Sam Spade, and it was going to be Steve McQueen playing him, but I guess they couldn't get the rights or something like that. It sounded like it had been filmed. So Marlowe gets into kind of the prototypical detective story, but it's set in the 70s in LA and Tijuana and parts southern, more southern in Mexico, and it's just freaking awesome. Like, you gotta see it. Feels it feels like a movie because there's people talking that kind of movie way, but like all the scenes and the way everyone looks and the writing, like I was basically mesmerized. And then, like I said, even though I loved it, at the end I felt very satisfied but a little confused, and then I kind of went looking for answers, and I go, some of the stuff is just never really fully defined. There's different people, but I loved it. Whereas War Dogs, I realized that I had already seen the movie in the trailer, and that watching the movie while giving me more information, it wasn't more satisfying. You kind of just noticed like the little creaks, and the wife character is underwritten and very kind of cliche, and then you can also kind of tell like he just wanted to write Bradley Cooper into the story. So there's a great line from the trailer where he says, Bradley Cooper gives this really great performance. He's this gun runner who's not allowed to do business with the government, U.S. government anymore, so he has to find proxies, basically. and he says, I'm not a bad man, but every once in a while I have to ask myself, what would a bad man do? That's a great line. You know where that fits into the movie? At the end of everything, when everyone's been sentenced and one guy's done his time and he's gone back to his regular job, and then the guy just pops up, he's like, thanks for not mentioning me in the hearing. This is based on a true story. He's like, and then you're like, yeah, because you don't exist. You're just created you're just created because Todd Phillips wrote and directed the Hangover movies, and you produced A Star Is Born, and you know Bradley Cooper was doing a favor. He's like, I can give you like 5 days. He's like, okay, I'll write you in to like weave it in and out. So like basically you were ready for the credits to roll, and then like the best line happens in this weird, awkward, epilogue scene. But everything was tied so neatly at the end that it felt like a product, whereas things being loose and frayed at the end of The Long Goodbye made it look like arts. So I honestly might watch The Long Goodbye again, or at least have it play in the background while I'm cleaning or folding laundry or something like that. But I would still recommend both of them. Like I said, War Dogs is quite good. War Dogs is, there was all these push to make like these Iraq war films, and they all did terrible. I think that Afghanistan film with Marky Mark, I think that at least made some sort of a profit. But there was just like 10 years of just flop after flop. Now I looked this up. It wasn't a super flop. It cost 60 and it made 85 million. Now I think you're supposed to make like 2.5 times your budget to turn a profit, but it wasn't a total disaster. And those are just general guidelines for stuff like that. But that was Todd Phillips' last movie he directed before Joker. So I would recommend both of them, but definitely Long Goodbye I would say like see it right now. Whereas War Dogs is like, put it in your watch list, put it in your queue. Just, get to it. It's okay. I was entertained. So anyway, thanks for watching. And I keep saying I'm gonna watch Aliens, but then they've been pushing a lot more stuff onto Amazon Prime Video and Netflix. So now I was like, maybe I'll watch the Aliens movies in order. But then do I start with Alien or do I start with Prometheus? And then all the Die Hard movies are on there, and there's a lot of stuff on there. So I just might bebop around. I mean, I got nothing better to do till April 30th. That's when we're on lockdown here. Supposedly the governor is like, yeah, we need to get businesses back open. So I think the Texas lockdown will end on April 30th. But, oh man, for like LA and San Francisco, I think your whole May is just toast. So anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.